good morning, good afternoon, whatever it is, wherever you are. It's me again, Jen. Hello! And it is Friday! Yay! And it is the 18th of September, and we are reading still from the Goddess Tarot deck, a deck that is written and illustrated by Chris Wilder. And I've had this deck in my collection a really long time, and last night was the new moon, so I did a red tent night with some ladies. It was virtual because we're still a little iffy about the whole COVID thing. But what I do is I always kind of let people pick one of the cards for a kind of a general idea for the month sort of feeling. And so I separated out the deck to just have the major arcana, which is what I'm going to read for the rest of the month. I'm just going to play with the major arcana because those focus on the goddesses. And I gotta say, that's the most interesting part of this deck, is the interesting stories of the goddesses. So without further ado, let's see which of the major arcana we have for today for our Friday and to go into the weekend. Well, I don't think it's a bad card to go into the weekend with. It is Judgment. We all know this card as Judgment, so it hasn't changed its name. The goddess associated with it, we might not recognize by that particular spelling, that very Welsh spelling of the name, but it is Gwenyfar. I think if I were to read this and have never seen it before, I would read it kind of as Gwenyfar. Also known as Guinevere from the stories of King Arthur and Sir Lancelot and all of those. But she also is a goddess in the more Celtic pantheon, sort of. So she is the lady of the ocean and the surf, so to speak. So she's kind of the lady of the lake-ish. And so that's one of the interesting things that I do like about this character. The character of Guinevere is really interesting. If you go back into stories of Uther Pendragon and of King Arthur and all of those things, we've diluted a lot of that story and the myth that surrounds it. And one of those things is Guinevere. And Guinevere, being a goddess of the oceans and a goddess of the surf, was initially said to be kind of the sort of an embodiment of the island in a way. And also it was always said that the one who can have Guinevere stand by his side will be king of all the land. And a lot of people took this to be as if she were his queen. And that led to a lot of her being kidnapped. A lot. And so the idea of this character, though, really is that it's her judgment that if you are found worthy to be king. So this is where the story gets a little weird if you kind of take the Lady of the Lake and Guinevere and they kind of become one and the same. Because we know that the Lady of the Lake produced a sword, and it was one of the swords that King Arthur had. It's not Excalibur. Excalibur comes from the stone, I think. I may have that reversed. Anyway, there's two swords that Arthur has, and one of them is from the Lady of the Lake, and other one is pulled from the stone. The one that is from the Lady of the Lake, that is the one that proves he is worthy to be king. Yes, the one that he pulls from the stone kind of puts him on that path, but this is the one that is like, you have value, you are worthy. It's also the one, spoiler alert, that gets thrown back into the lake at the end of his reign, meaning that he has given it up, he has passed it on, he has given it back to the Lady in the Lake, who very well may be the character of Guinevere as well, and that she is not at all this consort to the king, and again, spoiler alert, hook up with Sir Lancelot and all of these other things. She may just be a goddess and a lake goddess or a water goddess who really passes her judgment on who is worthy to rule the land, who has the value, the wherewithal, the nobility, and it doesn't have to be about bloodline really. It's more about your faith, I guess. And she is such an interesting character in all levels of the myth. And I'm not saying that there is anything wrong with the stories of King Arthur as we've read them, I'm sure, over and over and experienced them in film and media of all kinds. Guinevere and Arthur and Lancelot are forever in our thought process. They are part of our psyche at this point. And yes, growing up with a name like Jennifer, I heard a lot about these characters. So I just absolutely love that she is the character of Judgment. Now, if you take it on the flip side, and that she is this character who is infidelity and romance and the unattainable and all of these things, it also sort of fits with Judgment, because that's you to have judgment and discernment. It's playing both sides of that. It's, well, is this a good judgment or a bad judgment? Is this something that in the future will be positive and wonderful, or is this something that maybe is going to cause an entire kingdom to crash down? So I think that she's an interesting character to have as Judgment, no matter which way you know her and no matter what story she connects with for you. To talk a little bit about the image itself, what's great is that she's kind of there's almost the maiden mother crone aspect back here, where you can see the gray-haired hooded crone, and I'm going to guess this is the maiden, where she's got kind of the more red hair and the white innocent gown, more like a christening gown almost. And here is Guinevere, more the mother figure, the warrior figure, who represents all that is the island, all that is the Celtic peoples. So, and she is knighting this gentleman down here, who I'm going to assume is Arthur, just for lack of better judgment on that. Better judgment. So he probably is Arthur. I love that the dog is at her feet, sort of looking up at her, because we know that when dogs are represented, they typically mean domestication, loyalty, and just that community and being with society and all that, which that is kind of what she's bestowing upon this man is, hey, with I deem you worthy to lead the people. I deem you worthy to be the example of what our people represent. So the dog on there is absolutely fantastic too. And the maiden mother crone aspect standing kind of behind her, which also I feel like is that many faces of Guinevere, because we do see her in a lot of different ways. And if you look at her as, she's also the Lady of the Lake, but she's also the queen who betrays, betrays, she's the infidelity aspect of her personality as well. So all of these things are really interesting with the character of Guinevere, and she's so versatile and so interesting. And with the Judgment, I feel like Judgment isn't a black and white thing. So why put a black and white sort of character on this card? Put one that's so mutable and means so many different things to so many people, so that when you think of Judgment, you have to go back to yourself and go, well, what do I feel is good judgment? What do I feel is positive and good in the world? So that's a good thing to do. And I also think that's an excellent card to lead into the weekend, because always we should kind of look at what is good judgment when we are doing things on the weekend. We got to get back to work on Monday. We don't want to make too many mistakes over the weekend, but we do want to have some fun and be around our friends. And especially in this weird time that we have right now, good judgment is something that is super questionable depending on what you're doing. So I hope that everyone does think about the things that they do this weekend. Have fun, but be safe, stay healthy, and be good to each other, because things get crazy out there. And I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Until Monday, bye!